today I'm thrilled to be joined by a special guest, Jessie Grace. So Jessie is an entrepreneur, a marketing strategist, podcast producer, and mindset coach. So Jessie helps people break free from the 9 to 5 grind and build a freedom-based lifestyle as digital nomads. So Jessie, it's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to chat to you today.
And likewise. So before we dig into the specifics, I think just for our listeners, it'd be good to understand more about your background. So if you could give us a rundown of your background and story and what that transition looked like from working in that corporate 9 to 5 to building a freedom-based lifestyle and business.
Yeah, so I was straight out of college. I went straight into the corporate world and I thought that's the path I wanted to go down. I thought that I wanted to climb the corporate ladder and have that security and income and the structure. And bit by bit, I realised that is not what I want. So I worked in financial services, so accountancy firms and law firms in the marketing department for many years. And after COVID, when we kind of had that newfound flexibility, work from home, all of that, I was like, oh, slower paced living is so much more suited to me. Then when kind of the restrictions lifted and we had to go back to the office, 5 times a week, I was like, okay, I want a change. I don't want this restriction on my life. Being told you have to come in, you have to commute, take an hour to commute into work, and it was just exhausting. Also, my holiday annual leave request got denied. My salary didn't go up that year due to COVID, and I was just like, there has to be another way of living and working. So I handed in my notice, and I was actually looking at other office jobs in the tech industry because I had heard basically they had a lot of flexibility about location. That's the only reason I was looking into that industry. And I had a trip to Greece booked anyway. So I was out in Greece and I was looking around at all these people on the beach on their laptops working, but having nice smoothies and looking out at the sea and having meetings in these cafes. And I was like, what are all of these people doing that, they're living the most amazing lifestyle, but they're earning money, it seems, on their laptops in this beautiful country. And it was as if it was meant to be. On my flight home. Sorry, by the way, I was still applying to jobs and doing interviews out in Greece for these companies and I just had no interest. But when I boarded the plane home, I just was flicking through my podcasts. I threw one on and she was interviewing her virtual assistant, which is a term I'd never heard of before. And this virtual assistant was saying, I was in a corporate job, I was so unhappy, so I started offering services online and building clients and now I can travel the world. And it was just like it was meant to be. I was meant to listen to this. So got off the plane thinking, that's it. I'm going to give myself 2 months to become a digital nomad. And that's kind of where it all began.
Wow. So you managed to do that within 2 months?
So yeah, I gave myself a deadline of 2 months because I was like, I have a bit of savings, in 2 months' time, if it doesn't work out, if I don't get near my office job income, then I'm just going to have to start applying to jobs again. I think it didn't take 2 months to replace my office job income, but I got close enough where I saw so much potential. I think by 5 months I'd surpassed my office job income. Yeah.
That's good. That's good going. Do you think you've always had a entrepreneurial mindset, or do you think it was triggered from those set of events that happened?
It's funny because I suppose I'm very creative, but an entrepreneur, I would never saw myself as an entrepreneur because I had this preconceived notion that an entrepreneur had to be someone in a suit who has all this funding and business experience, and that was always my perception of what an entrepreneur is. So my newfound kind of perception of it, yes, I suppose I do have that entrepreneurial spirit, but that doesn't mean I amn't for hustle culture. I amn't for the grind. That's not the way I work at all. It's not the way I work with my clients at all. It's very holistic business growth.
That's really interesting. I think COVID changed a lot, didn't it? In terms of how people work and how people think. Because we used to have an office in Barnsley, and all our staff used to be based there. We did kind of have a flexible working commitment, so sometimes people could work from home, but most of the time it was in the office. And obviously since COVID, we got rid of the office. Everyone's been fully remote. Productivity in a way has actually increased, and everybody's just happy working from home because they're not spending hours commuting to work and back. So yeah, I think it's definitely changed a lot, and it's helped people build these freedom-based businesses a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, it just opened everyone's eyes up to the potential of just working from anywhere and how it really makes people have more fulfilled lives,
Yeah, exactly. And moving on to mindset. So I think this is such a big topic that a lot of people are starting to take a lot more seriously, myself included, especially over the last few years. As you build a business and you start to scale it and you get more clients and you've got more responsibilities, there's going to be a stage where you get to that burnout stage. And at times, you can think to yourself, like, why did I do this to start with? If you are feeling that burnt out. So I think it's so important to build that bulletproof mindset, and meditation can be a part of that, of course. So how important would you say mindset is in entrepreneurship and scaling the business?
Honestly, mindset is everything. It's everything. It all begins and it all comes back to mindset, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With burnout, especially running a business, it can be difficult and you can feel burnt out, and so important to just reconnect with your why as often as possible. Just bird's eye view, is this task that's stressing me out really important in the grand scheme of things? It just dictates how your business is going to go, how successful it is your mindset. And it's called mindset work for a reason, because you have to actually be consistent on working on your mindset and checking back in with yourself. And if anyone is like really new to mindset, it literally just means the way that you think and your thought patterns really do create your reality. So like
Yeah.
an example I use is the belief, emotion, action cycle. So if you are a business owner about to launch something, or you're about to launch a podcast or a new service or something, if you have the belief that no one's going to listen, no one's going to sign up, your emotions are going to follow. Emotions of frustration, sadness, lack of motivation. Your action is going to follow that emotion. So you're not really going to promote it that well. You're not really going to be enthusiastic in your interviews. You're not really going to have great sales conversations because you're already
Yeah.
deflated. And then you have just landed on a self-fulfilling prophecy. You believed that you would get no listeners, and there you go. You've just fulfilled that belief. If you flip that with a positive mindset and you have the belief that you are going to make 6 figures this year, you have the belief that you're going to get 20 people signing up to work with you, then your emotions are going to be so high vibrational and so excited. You're going to show up online and promote your services with that enthusiasm. You're going to be so authentic in your sales conversation. And then the result is you actually do land those clients. So everything when it comes to running a business comes down to your mindset. It is unbelievable how much I've learned over the past, I'd say 2 years, of the mindset shifts, the impact that can have in your entire life and my clients' lives as well.
That's really interesting. I've actually been doing a lot more research on like how the brain works recently. So, for example, there's the reticular activating system, RES. So that processes thousands of bits of information on a daily basis and only stores things that you personally believe in. So your brain doesn't actually know the difference between what you visualize and reality. So if you start to visualize those goals that you want to achieve and the behaviors of yourself on a daily basis, that starts to become more of a reality. A few years ago, if you asked me about manifesting, I'd have just batted it off and like, I don't believe in it. But if
Yeah.
you actually start practicing manifestation, it does become really, really powerful. A couple of years ago, for example, when I lived in the UK, I was just miserable, and I start to visualize living somewhere nice by the beach, a relaxed lifestyle. Then a couple of years later, I'm living in Portugal, like 2 minutes from the beach. So I think it can be really powerful.
It's so powerful. It's so powerful how you speak to yourself. It's so powerful to visualize what you want, because the thing is I put up a post about this recently, but people think manifesting is saying I want, I need, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have a yacht, whatever it is. And actually, what do you really want there? You want the feeling that you would feel when you have the thing. And guess what? You probably have already felt that emotion before in your life. You want that
Yeah.
intense happiness and intense excitement, intense love, whatever it is. So the best way to manifest is feel the feelings as if you already have it. And then your 3D reality will reflect that. So you're like, okay, I'm in the UK now and I would love to be on the beach, on my laptop, sipping a pina colada, whatever it is. Oh, how does that make you feel? It makes you feel so excited and happy, and you can really just feel the sun on your skin. And the more you walk around your life with that feeling, that visualization, you're going to make decisions based on how happy you feel. And you're just getting closer and closer to aligning yourself with that future version that you want to be. And that is just the basics of manifesting. And oh my God, it works. Like, it works. And if you're skeptical, there's no harm in trying. Like, just give it a go. And then you will be like, okay, now I got it.
Makes a lot of sense. It's like, for example, if you consider yourself as a sad person, like subconsciously, you look out for things that align with that belief on a daily basis. So that's why it's so important to train your brain.
100%. There is the biggest block to abundance is complaining. That is the biggest energetic
Yeah.
block. So if you are someone who's prone to just identifying the suboptimal things within the room, It's horrible outside, I'm cold, I'm miserable. You are going to attract that. So I would
Yeah.
challenge anyone who has that sort of more negative mindset or is wondering why they're not welcoming abundance into their life. Next time you walk into a situation where identify three nice things. And honestly, it has a knock on effect in your life. Once you start showing gratitude and start appreciating nice things, even if you're in a terrible situation, just picking out things you're grateful for will absolutely have a knock on effect to what you receive.
That's a great tip. And have you got any particular examples? I know you work on mindset coaching with your clients. So
Yeah.
have you got any particular examples of a mindset shift where that's led to like a significant improvement in the business?
Yeah, so I was working with a life coach, and it's funny because she's a life coach, so she's well aware of how your emotions can affect your actions and everything. But it's having a coach there to be that outside perspective and someone to lean on is still important, even if you're a life coach. Like I always use the example, a therapist has a therapist themselves. And, because having that outside perspective is so important. But she was really struggling with getting clients in her business. And the sales strategy was good, the marketing strategy was good. So actually, it was mindset that was her biggest block. So we identified that she was operating from an energy of desperation, of lack, of negativity. And we did a lot of mindset work, journaling, gratitude journaling, things that were helping her to opt for flow over force. Then the knock-on effect of that was she was showing up way more relaxed. There was no pressure to make a sale. We took that pressure off. She was having better sales conversations because she was like, I'm not forcing this into a sales conversation. This is just going to be a friendly conversation. 2 weeks of doing this, she made 6 grand in her business in 2 weeks
Wow.
from zero. And the only shift we made was working on her mindset. But that had like a domino effect because when we worked on her mindset, she posted way more consistently with a way better energy and attracted all these clients and opportunities, not only from social media, but in her personal life as well. I said to her, go out and do something that'll fill your cup, do a hobby, and then she actually met people out in the real world, not just social media, that she made really great, she got really great opportunities business-wise from these random interactions in her real life. 6K, 2 weeks of doing mindset work. So
Yeah,
that's one
that's
example that
brilliant.
happened recently. But all my clients see huge shifts in their income and in their quality of life when they work on their mindset.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think a lot of people, when they're looking to scale the business, they think that they need a better marketing strategy. But if they've not got the right mindset, then that marketing strategy won't get executed. So it's pretty much
Exactly.
pointless. So I think it's always important to start with that mindset. So that's a good tip.
Yeah, like how are you going to stay consistent with posting if
Yeah.
you are saying really negative things about yourself, if you hate the way the video comes out, you don't have the energy or the motivation to post? That's all your mindset. That's not just the content strategy. So that's why I say it all comes back to your mindset.
Cool. And moving on to building a freedom-based business. So a freedom-based business can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? And I'm sure it might mean different things to your clients. But to you, what does a freedom-based business mean?
To me personally, it started with location freedom. As you might have been able to tell from how I got
Hmm.
into this in the first place, I didn't want to be location dependent. But for my clients, when they come to me, anytime we structure their business from the ground up, the first thing I do in our first session is just tell me exactly the lifestyle you want to have. Every single day you wake up, what does your Monday look like? What does your Saturday look like? Down to like, where are you going to get a coffee? Who are you interacting with? What kind of people do you want to work with, clients? So when you're building a freedom-based business, I just want to know, like, what do you want your day-to-day life to look like? Then we'll work backwards from that and we'll think, okay, so you want to be living in Bali and you want to be working from beautiful cafes and you want to go to Pilates at 10 a.m. and then you want to go to an art class, whatever it is. What income do you need to support your dream lifestyle? What people are you interacting with every day? What do your clients look like? What personalities do they have? Okay, then we need to work back and develop a marketing strategy to attract those people. When we build out your offer suite, what do you want to be doing every single day? Do you want to be editing podcasts? Do you want to be, it all starts with your lifestyle rather than thinking, I just want to be a millionaire. How do I get there? It's like, well, why do you want millions of pounds? Well, so
Yeah.
that I can, have financial security, so that I can go traveling. Okay, let's start there. Let's start with what you're doing
Yeah.
every single day. So that's a freedom-based business to me.
That's good. I think it's starting with the why, isn't it? Because getting to a million, that's the what. That's what you're going to achieve. But why
Yeah.
do you need to achieve a million? What does that look like in terms of your lifestyle? So
Yeah.
I think a
And
lot
then
of people don't actually know that information. You might have to work hard to extract that information from them.
yeah, it's so true
Yeah.
because I have clients, I've worked with clients who have had higher income months in their business and their life is so stressful and they can't enjoy their money and they have no automation in place. They're holding on to their money. They don't want to spend it or
Mm,
invest it in software that'll make their lives easier, to be honest. And then I have
yeah.
clients who are making less money and oh my God, they are living the life, living the dream.
Mm, yeah.
And that's what they want. They don't want to be working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every night.
Mm,
So it's a
yeah.
lifestyle first approach.
Yeah, makes sense. How important is systems and automations when it comes to building that freedom-based business?
Well, that's a massive part of my coaching. This isn't being lazy, but how you can work less and earn more, and how you can work
Mm,
smarter and not harder. Because I'm all about just living an amazing life. Automation is huge. Try not to suffocate your money and hold on to it. When you invest money in automation software to automate your business as much as possible, you get it back. You have the capacity, you have the energy, the brain power to onboard even more clients. I made a post recently saying if 20 people wanted to work with me tomorrow, I wouldn't even be involved in that process. They would all be onboarded. The only thing I'd have to do is send them a link, and a
I
lot of
saw that
people.
actually on your TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like, a lot of my clients, when they first come to me, the idea of onboarding one client is extremely stressful and involves so much back and forth.
Mm,
There's so many admin processes when you run a business that
yeah.
you're in charge of all of a sudden, unless you have a virtual
Mm,
assistant and you outsource that. But
yeah.
drafting invoices, scheduling kickoff calls, signing contracts, drafting contracts, having a payment processor. There's so many different elements that you can automate. You just have to invest a little bit of money in them.
So when you're working with your clients on a marketing strategy, what's the first step to gaining clarity on their business and messaging? Because I think that's so crucial. And a lot of people will create a website or a landing page that just talks about themselves. It doesn't really talk to their ICP, to their audience. So it doesn't really get across the benefits and why people should work with them. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle. They might be spending thousands on advertising to bring traffic to the website, but the messaging and the brand positioning is just not on point. So is that something that you work with clients from day one to optimize that before they actually go to market?
100%. Like I said, on that first kickoff call, we look at their lifestyle that they want. Then the people that they're working with every day, i.e. their clients, what does that look like? And we basically create like an avatar for their absolute dream client they want to work with, the problems that client is facing, the struggles that they're facing, the position they find themselves in now. And then we develop a content strategy based on how you can help those or what gap in the market are you filling for that client. And so many people talk about themselves too much in their content, as you said. Like it's never about you. It's about your client. It's about the viewer. Even if I'm telling a story about myself, I have to literally reword how I say it to like using the words you rather than I. It's
Yeah.
such a small shift, but people are selfish when they're consuming content. So you have to always be talking about the viewer and your ideal client in all of your
Yeah.
content pretty much. And when you build out a strategy, there's so many layers that go into it, but it's just all about getting the viewer to identify the current situation they're in now, the problems they're facing, and why what they're doing currently isn't working to get them to their goals. And
Mhm.
you have the solution to that. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of basics of it.
Makes a lot of sense. And for someone that's looking to build their online visibility, do you have any like top tips for making a strong impact through content?
Definitely stay consistent even when you feel like it's not working out. It will, especially on TikTok. Like TikTok
Mm,
rewards people that are consistent, and it can be so random that I've actually, an example is I've posted the same video 3 or 4 times, multiple different videos I have. I just grab it again, repost it, and it could take
yeah.
the fourth time for it to go semi-viral.
It's
But
interesting.
yeah, but it's the same exact same video. It's just down to it's the same caption sometimes I use, and just as an experiment, it does it.
Mm,
So like it goes viral compared to the first 3 times I posted. So consistency is key, and authenticity is huge. I don't try and copy someone else. Show your own personality. Share your own personal stories. That's how people are
yeah.
going to resonate with you. And when someone sees you're getting vulnerable and they resonate with you, they're going to trust you more. And people buy from people that they trust. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think just being as authentic as you possibly can.
Yeah. Makes sense. And it's really interesting actually because this is the first time that we've spoke, but I feel like I already know you because of all the content that I see on your TikTok every day.
I know it's
Is that
funny.
yeah.
Like that's the thing. People, I personally, anytime I've gone to invest in my business, whether I'm looking for a coach to help me out, a virtual assistant to help me, an editor, whatever I need, now my go-to is TikTok and Instagram to find these people. I don't Google it. I
Yeah.
look to see videos of people so I can see their personality
Yeah.
as opposed to just like a CV.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think, people hit a lot of stumbling blocks when it comes to creating content on whatever channel. It might be TikTok, it might be LinkedIn, it might be YouTube. And most people feel like they've got nothing to say and they might be an expert in the field. But if you really dig into that person and understand how they help the customers, you might have an hour interview with them and you'll get loads of ideas out of it. But people struggle coming up with those ideas. Have you got any advice for actually coming up with those ideas and being consistent with it?
Yeah, so one of the things that I do are strategy sessions that help you get better at creating content. One thing I'd say is just write out a big list of every problem your ideal client faces, and not just like a problem like they don't have a lot of time or they want more money, but an actual example of a day-to-day situation they find themselves in. Like let's say you're a nutritionist. Think of your ideal client. Let's say they're a busy mum and they feel like they put themselves last. At the end of the day, they just grab whatever they can from the fridge because they are mentally exhausted. That's a way more specific example than being like, you struggle with getting healthy meals, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So write out as many really, really, really specific examples of situations your ideal client finds themselves in, and what they're dealing with that they're frustrated about. Then write out a list of everything that your service, all the elements of your service that is different to your competitors. Write out lots of examples of client stories or testimonials. So like I had a client who went from X to Z or A to B, whatever it is. And this is you're gonna have endless content ideas because you just talk about these problems. You talk about why you're different in your process, the solutions you give. Also think of everyday situations you find yourself in. Tell stories about when you were dealing with a tricky situation, how you overcame that. Then there's other content ideas of agitation. Like want to agitate your viewers a little bit. Like, oh, are you someone that every year a new year comes around and you're like, oh, I have to set New Year's goals again, and you put it off for another year, like little agitating, calling people out. So I make people write a massive list of all these content ideas, and then we split it all out into a calendar. What I also like to do, because for a lot of people, their lack of consistency is the ideation process. You know, it's like, well, what do I post? Like, I'll sit down, I'll film things, but what do I film? So anytime you have an idea, something inspires you, just write it in your notes app on your phone. Anytime I'm like scrolling through TikTok, I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting perspective or idea. I'll send that TikTok back to myself so that when I sit down to write all my ideas out, I'll just take inspiration from that. TikTok is a great search engine, you know, to
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
content ideas as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I would begin with building a content strategy.
That's a great strategy. I think people also can repost old content because I saw a video by Alex Hormozy that just says pretty much everybody forgets your message unless they've seen it like 7 times, then they actually
Yeah.
know exactly what it is you do. So even though you remembered you posted a couple of months ago about a particular topic, your audience probably doesn't. So if you just repost that, you might want to make a few little tweaks to it, but getting that message across repeatedly is not an issue, and it's still, it's a constant reminder to your audience.
Yeah, I always tell my clients that it takes 7 times for someone to hear about a service for them to
Yeah,
even consider inquiring about it. So you
yeah,
need to be known for something. Like when I'm launching something new, like I have a podcast course where you can learn how to edit podcasts and offer it as a service. When I'm kind of doing a big kind of marketing sprint or push on that, I talk about it like 3 times a day and it like unashamedly like push it out so that I'm just known as that person that has that podcast course.
yeah,
And it's how you're going to sell. Yeah, repurposing is huge. This is another thing actually. When it comes to testimonials, a lot of new business owners get really nervous about that because they don't have the clientele or the screenshots of client feedback or reviews to share. And I say, if you even have one nice bit of feedback from your one client that you have, just keep posting the same screenshot. Like again, no one's paying that close attention to you where they're like, they
no,
keep using the same screenshot. Do they only have one client? Don't overthink it, you know? That's a
yeah,
great testimonial. Keep using it. I share the same kind of screenshots all the time on my
yeah.
content.
So moving on to podcast support. So this is something that you help your clients with to set up their own podcasts. So, what inspired you to add podcast support to your services and help your audience grow their podcasts?
So when I started my digital nomad business, I just offered any kind of services that I knew I had skills in. So like social media management and random admin tasks for my clients. And then I realized I don't enjoy doing that. It's actually extremely time consuming. And then I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts. It's actually an Irish podcast, and their producer gets really involved with the show, like, has a laugh with the hosts. And I was thinking, this producer is listening to this podcast, having fun, editing it, and getting paid to do it. That's an amazing job, and I want to know how to do that. So I looked everywhere online to try and find someone teaching people how to edit podcasts. And I found one girl, she's actually my friend now, and she happened to live like not that far from me in Dublin. Such a mad coincidence. She's the only person I found, and she doesn't even do it anymore, but she taught me how to edit podcasts. And then I did education by myself, like learning everything I could about editing podcasts. And then I just added it to my services. What I saw was, oh my God, I've tapped into this gap in the market. There are very few freelance podcast editors and producers on Instagram. Like, I'm sure there are loads on Upwork and Fiverr and those freelancing websites, but none that kind of people are like talking to camera and showing who my personality is. So I didn't have the capacity for all these podcast shows. So I started training up other virtual assistants on the side, kind of who wanted clients. I was like, if you want to learn how to edit a podcast, I'll show you, and then here's a client for you. And then I got so many messages from girls being like, I want to do that. That's when I developed a podcast course to teach people how to offer it as a service. So that's how that all developed.
Yeah, that's interesting. How important would you say that having a podcast is for personal branding?
Oh, like, it's such an amazing business move for any entrepreneur, because with, social media, you have such a small window frame to get people to like you, resonate with you. Like on Instagram, it's a 1 minute, 30-second reel. Yeah, you have your stories, but a podcast can be hours long, and that's an amazing way to connect with your audience and build such a nice community of your followers. You can get much more vulnerable on your podcasts, show way more of your personality, and it's a great networking opportunity. Like, the guests that you have when you make reels and TikTok, audiograms, what they're called, just like a reel or a TikTok snippet of the podcast. When you are interviewing someone and they share it to their audience, then you're just exposing your business to so many different groups of people. So just such a great business move, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really powerful because I only started going on podcasts actually about a month ago. But just from one podcast, I had this one guy reach out to me to say that he wanted to set up a meeting just to understand exactly what we do. He was actually a consultant, and he's got a massive client base that he's going to start introducing us to his clients. The opportunity that just one podcast has brought for our business is crazy. So obviously, if you do that on a consistent basis, it'll be life changing.
Yeah, I actually got lots of clients off one podcast show that I just randomly joined for an interview. And funny, actually bringing it back to mindset and manifestation, wrote down just on my list of winter goals, get on more podcasts, like just be on them for my own. I want to build up my experience with interviews, and also it's a great opportunity to meet new people, new entrepreneurs. But 3 hours later, you messaged me.
Yeah.
I didn't even, it's that's just going back to manifestation
Crazy.
and listening at your goals. But how funny is that?
I know, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it does.
And moving on to free resources and giving back. So I've noticed that you've created a variety of free resources for your audience. So what inspired you to start offering these resources and courses, and what's the impact since you've actually launched those?
Having freebies or lead magnets is huge for making sales in my business. So offering those free mini courses, the whole strategy behind that is to get people on my email marketing list. So I actually noticed a girl the other day had a freebie, and I went to download it because it was something I was interested in, and I got it straight away without inputting my email. And I actually messaged her because I was like, you need to connect this to your email marketing, otherwise it's kind of pointless. It's not pointless. You're offering, it's a nice thing that you're offering, but you're not benefiting in any way. So there's a strategy behind offering free courses, free resources. It's a way of making passive sales in the background. So whenever someone downloads one of my free courses, they get an opt-in to join my email list. They have to do that to receive the freebie, and then then they get fed a sequence of emails that are designed to warm them up to a place where they are convinced to buy the end product, which is related back to the freebie. It's on the same topic. And I just make sales kind of in the background. I set it up once and then I don't even focus on it. It's just happening in the background. And it's
Automation.
just a way of making passive sales.
Makes sense. And do you get a lot of your subscribers coming through TikTok? Is that your main source?
Yeah, actually, it seems to be TikTok. So it's funny because Instagram, I feel like there's so much more of a community. I know who is following me. I'm always having conversations on Instagram, whereas TikTok, I feel a lot more removed from my followers because it's, you know, there are a lot of strangers, people that don't follow me that are liking my stuff. But it does seem like, from a visibility point of view, I do get more traffic to my freebies through
Yeah,
TikTok.
that's good. Most businesses try and go in for the sale straight away without actually giving any value up front. So, do you think giving that value up front in the form of like free resources without actually asking for anything in return is key to long-term success for online business owners?
There's definitely two schools of thought on this. I've learned that the more I relax, the more I give value, the more I'm just happy to help, the more I'm a friend, the more clients I get. Whereas, you know, you'd have some business coaches saying, don't give free advice. People will come to your page, absorb all the free resources and leave. They'll take advantage of you and then they get a free strategy session in the DMs that you could have charged for. I get that and I do have my boundaries with that. You know, if I notice that someone is taking the piss a little bit, I'll be like, here's a link to a strategy session if you want to dive deeper into this. However, for the most part, a lot of people, especially if they're new to the digital nomad world or building a business, they aren't used to the idea of investing in a coach. They're not maybe they don't have the budget, and I'd hate for them to be doing things wrong. I could just give them, you know, 2 or 3 messages to say, look, maybe try this, and it could really, really help them out. And people really appreciate that. They remember you. They'll come back to you when
Yeah.
they do land that first client or two, and they have the resources to invest. They'll choose you over the next person who ignored them, you know? So
Yeah, makes
I
sense.
know it takes your energy and time, but I actually really like doing it. And I do think there is value in giving free advice.
And moving on to advice for aspiring digital nomads, because there's a lot of people on TikTok that want to be digital nomads but just don't know where to start. So, for someone that's feeling stuck in the corporate world but dreaming of more freedom, what's the first step that they should take to transition into running their own online business?
2 ways you can go about it. You can either build a business where you get clients through social media. So that means you're prepared to start posting videos online. I haven't really talked about it today, but I do have clients where they've left the corporate world and they've used their network in real life to get clients and haven't tapped into social media at all. They don't have any business accounts. One girl that I worked with, she does ad campaigns and digital marketing, and she found her first client through her gym. She started offering to run ads for them, and then people at the gym with all connections and businesses, she just ended up getting like 4 or 5 clients that way, and that
Yeah.
beyond surpassed her office job income, and she never needed to market herself online. So decide what way you want to get clients. If you're like, okay, I don't really have a network to go off, I'm going to go down the social media route,
Yeah.
then you need to think about your skills. What do you actually want to offer? If you have no idea, start off as a virtual assistant maybe, because you can test out lots of different skills, and the
Yeah.
client then kind of asks you to do a few tasks and you can decide what you're good at, and then you can kind of specialize a little bit more. Like the way my business looked when I first started is completely different to the way it looks now. I know this sounds like a plug, but get help, you know, like it'll fast track your success if you even book in a call or work with someone who has been in your shoes and gets it and has come out the other side, and you're just not going to waste any time.
Makes a lot of sense. And in a lot of ways, my background's kind of similar, to be honest. I used to be an online marketing manager at a designer furniture store, and I grew that business really well to like 0 to 50K a month in a couple of years. But as the business scaled, I was taking on more responsibilities, and I hated the job. But I took it on myself to learn marketing. Like I was watching every single YouTube video, reading articles. I created my own website, started testing things. Obviously, a lot of failures, but you learn from those failures. And I got to the point where I didn't like the job, and I started approaching some local businesses, offering my services. And it got to the stage where, yeah, my income was exceeding what I was getting in my full-time role. So
Right.
I think, yeah, a lot of people can start off small by doing these side projects alongside their full-time role, so they're not leaving that financial security and stability, and because obviously they need clients there if they're gonna quit the job, right? So I think it's important to start small. If you're not a marketing expert, try testing your own things and working with some of your connections. It might be friends, it might be family, and building from there. Really, I think that's a good strategy, and that's certainly my experience anyway.
Yeah, like a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they're still in their office job or their 9 to 5 or their day job, looking to eventually transition into this digital nomad lifestyle. And majority of them are able to hand in their notice, like within a few months, like less than 2 months. I had a girl who, within one call, landed 3 clients, surpassed her office job income, and handed in her notice the same week that she signed up to work with me. That was back in January. And now she is absolutely flying it. She's traveling the world, like just living the dream. And so I understand how people say go all in, you need to have all your attention on the business, but no, let's be realistic. People can't just like quit their jobs, and they have bills to pay and responsibilities. So there is, why not try, you have your office job, why not just try get one client on the side, and then that's going to give you a lot of confidence that you get two on the side, and then you're going to slowly see that income kind of match your current one or surpass it. So yeah, you can definitely just give it a go. You have nothing to lose.
For sure. And finally, in terms of the future trends with digital nomads, so in your opinion, do you see more people pursuing the digital nomad lifestyle in the coming years?
It's going to be so much more common. It's already more common for people to post on TikTok and post videos on Instagram just for their normal lives. It's just becoming less of a out of the norm thing to do. I was only joking the other day that I'm probably going to get blacklisted in my old company because the amount of people that are starting their own businesses now that I'm helping them with. Like even my old manager has gone out on her own, left the
Really?
company.
Wow.
So, and a girl on my team as well. So yeah, I definitely think people are just fed up with these rigid rules that have
Mm,
been enforced on us
yeah.
for years. So I
Yeah.
think there will be a massive influx of digital nomads in the next few years.
So finally, if anyone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about your services, where should they go?
So my Instagram, TikTok, and website are all Jessie Grace Digital, and I have some one-to-one coaching spaces left. I have a podcast course that you can download if that's something you want to offer as a service, or even if you just want to know how to build your own podcast. And I do have a group program that I run a few times a year, and the next round will be January 2025. I don't know when this episode is coming out or when you're listening to this, but I do run it a couple of times a year. Yeah, just send me a DM.
Jessie, thanks so much for sharing your journey and expertise with us today. It's been incredibly insightful. I think a lot of people will take a lot of value from this. So thank you.
No problem. It was so nice to chat to you.